Okay, good afternoon and a warm welcome to our second virtual AGM. We don't need to note too many housekeeping rules other than if you could all remain on mute, and we will, during the course of the formal part of the AGM, be asking for proposers and seconders, and there are a couple of opportunities for voting, so we'll need to just see some hands going up in the chat if that's okay. Okay, thank you. So I'm going to move quite swiftly through the agenda this morning. The following items are all being proposed as ordinary resolutions, and for these resolutions to be passed, we do need more than 10 members to be present, which we do have. I can see people clicking away at the bottom there, so thank you for attending. Moving through our agenda, apologies for members who cannot attend, and rather than going through those apologies now, I'm just going to ask that those names will be shown on the minutes for formality. Moving on to point 2 on our agenda, the minutes of the last AGM to be confirmed and signed. So you will all have seen those minutes from last year's AGM. There are no matters arising. So can I ask that those minutes are approved? So I need someone to propose and someone to second. So we have a proposer from Carol Barron, thank you. Do we have a seconder? Molly, Richard Lavender, thank you very much. So minutes are confirmed, thank you. Moving on to item 3 on the agenda, which is my chairman's report. So you will have all have seen the full report on the chamber website. So I'm just going to do a couple of headlines really. This will of course be my last AGM as chairman, as I've now completed my term. The post is being filled by Chris Hare, who is a stalwart to this chamber. And I believe he's just what Jo and the chamber need as they navigate the emerging landscape. And you will hear more from Chris and Jo shortly. It would be fair to say that my period of chair has been unusual. The vast majority has been fulfilled from behind a screen and a laptop. One of the best aspects, though, has been my mostly early morning calls with Jo before the world has even woken. If you think that Jo is a dynamo, then you would be right. Our chamber is so fortunate to have a CEO at the helm with such drive, tenacity and rooted passion for this county. So Jo, thank you for everything that you do for Kent. Thank you for allowing me to experience a different side of Kent business life and for introducing me to your brilliant team, all of whom are present today. I will continue to support you all as the chamber moves onwards and upwards. In my actual report, I refer to an array of mostly virtual activities I have been able to support over the past 2 years. And as someone who started off in national newspapers, so think huge offices, lots of people, that's my experience, I have to say, virtual does work. So yeah, there we go, and change. My report also touches on the external conditions that the chamber trades in, and in it I mention a great deal of uncertainty. I could not have foreseen the greater degree of uncertainty that the whole world now faces, and it's only right to recognise the citizens of Ukraine as we all go through our day-to-day. Before I do go, I would like to take just a short moment to also thank the board of this chamber. If any of you haven't taken the time to learn more about the people who sit on the board, I urge you to visit the website and read their biographies. It's a board jam-packed with talent. It's represented by folk from finance, law, education, communication, public service, HR, commerce, and between them all, a whole lot of life experience. They are dedicated professionals who are truly batting for the members. So thank you. Finally, I would like to, for one last time, thank you for your continued support as members of this outstanding chamber. To encourage all of you to continue to share your business journeys with us, to engage and collaborate with each other as we navigate 2022 and beyond. I would, thank you very much, thank you. So moving on to the annual reports and accounts, which are submitted for adoption. So again, I need a proposer and a seconder, and I also need some hands for votes, please. I'll just let those roll in. So propose and second. Molly and Jo Warby and Richard Lavender, thank you. So noted for Jo Warby and Richard Lavender, thank you. Moving on to 5.5 directors. Since the last AGM, I'm absolutely delighted to say there have been no resignations. The following members will continue for their second year of their elected terms. So I will read the roll call. Jo James, Carol Barron, Tim Allen, Richard Lavender, Andrew Metcalfe, Richard Hicks, John Keefe, Stuart Warlow and Nick Hawley. The following members will continue for their third year of their elected terms. So again, I'll read the roll call. Chris Hare, John Taylor, Tracy Curley, Joanna Warby and myself, Miranda Chapman. And then the following members have completed the third year of their elected term and being eligible, offer themselves for re-election. So we have Ray Johnson and Luke Coulter. So again, we need a proposer and seconded by, please. So Tim Allen proposed, thank you, Tim. And Kelly, I think, can second. Great, thank you. Okay. And then finally, the following members have been co-opted during the year and being eligible offer themselves for election. So we have Stuart Warlow and one more time. So propose and seconded by, please. Richard and Carol. Thank you, guys. Thank you very much. Moving on to item 6 on our agenda, election of president. Richard Lavender will continue as president for the coming year and Carol Barron will remain as honorary president for the coming year. Chris Hare from Mid Kent College has been nominated by the board to take over chairmanship for the chamber for the period of 2 years, and Andrew Metcalfe of Maxim PR will take over as vice chair for the next 2 years. I am now delighted to hand over to Chris Hare to continue with the meeting. Thank you all.
Thank you, Miranda, and good afternoon, everybody. And what shoes have I got to follow there with Miranda? So thanks so much for your leadership in the last 2 years. Okay, let's move on to item 7 of the agenda, which is the appointment of the auditor. The board have appointed Wilkins Kennedy to continue as auditors for the year 2021 to 2022. Item 8 is the fixing of the auditor's remuneration. Members to authorise the directors to set the auditor's fees. Could I have a proposer and a seconder, please? Tim, thank you. And looking around my screen, Jo, thank you very much. Thank you, Jo. Okay, now we need to move on to a vote. So could please ask you to all vote for that standing. So put your hands up. Thank you very much. Yep, brilliant. Thank you. Okay, moving on to item 8. Any other business? We've not received any items for that area. So now I'm going to ask Jo, and hello, Jo, for the Chief Executive's update, please. Thank you, Jo.
Thank you, Chris. Before I give an update, an overview of really what we've been up to for the past year, could I just take this opportunity to say thank you to Miranda on behalf of the board and the chamber team, and myself personally, for all that she's done over the past 2 years. I just wanted to say to Miranda that not to underestimate the impact that she's made. Being chair during the pandemic has needed quite a unique skill set. And unfortunately for us, I think Miranda was the right chairman at the right time with the right skill set. And we're, like you, we've had to literally overnight move from a business that's historically been face-to-face to one that's become virtual. And I'm pleased to say that the team certainly rose to the challenge. It's not been easy, I don't think, for any of us, but they've rose to the challenge. And I think with Miranda's guidance and support, It's made it a lot easier for the team, and I know that they really appreciate all that you've done for them. So on behalf of the Chamber, thank you, Miranda. So as I've just said, like most of you, we've had to make a very quick transition from being a face-to-face business, which historically, the Chamber is a face-to-face business, to a virtual one. And I'm pleased to say that your team has done, your Chamber team has done an amazing job in that transition, and they've continued to be able to provide that much needed support, whether that be business advice, whether it be on international trade, business connections, or representation. And in terms of representation, we've been working hard collectively on your behalf, working with government at both local and national levels to raise all your concerns, and there's certainly been a lot of them over the past year. And we've been working to try and provide, once again, that environment, that business environment that's conducive to business growth and enterprise. We've been very visible, I think, over the past year with our marketing and online and press activity. But I'm really aware that due to the pandemic restrictions, we've not personally been as visible as we normally would be. But just because we haven't been personally visible, that doesn't mean that we've been sitting behind the scenes waiting for things to improve. Actually, in fact, it's far from that. Your Chamber team really has gone above and beyond to ensure that they've been here when I probably could safely say you've probably needed us at the greatest. And I think we've adapted our business model to ensure that we've remained relevant to you, our members, in this new way of working that we've all found ourselves in. And actually, it was a new way of working, but actually, I think it's been a great opportunity for us and all businesses to actually look at their business model and see how they can become more productive and also more relevant. So over the past year, I said we've been busy. So where have we been? What have we been doing? Through our business support team, we've helped over 9,000 businesses with business advice and information and support. And we've helped businesses across Kenton Medway access over £11.5 million in grants and funding. I mean, that's quite a significant amount. And through our various contracts, we've helped create around 2,500 jobs. And that includes helping 900 young people find kickstart placements. And I don't know if you'd have heard in the news this morning on BBC Online, they're criticising the kickstart scheme, that maybe it wasn't as efficient as it should have been. But as a gateway for the Kickstart scheme, I'd like to say there might be other areas up and down the country where maybe it hasn't worked. But I think if we look from a Kent perspective, I think it's worked really well. Partners have worked very well together collectively to support our young people, and actually getting 900 young people into a 6-month placement, which I know many have turned into long-term jobs and even apprenticeships. I think from a county aspect, despite what they're saying nationally, I think we can actually say it's been very successful. And through our international team, we've undertaken around 2,000 customs declarations and supported more than 600 businesses with Brexit import and export advice. And we've issued around 6,000 export documents. And through the membership team, we've held over, I think Molly and the team have put together around about 100 plus events, and I know in those events we've had over 8,000 delegates. And I'm also pleased to say that despite the economic backdrop that we've had, and actually the fall generally in memberships of membership organisations of businesses have struggled and looked to cut costs. We've actually grown the Kenton Invicta Chamber membership by 5% in what can only be said as a very challenging year. And with the help of our economic development groups, we've ensured that, you know, all the issues and challenges that you're facing, that your voice and your needs have been heard at both a local and a national level. And we've tried to influence change and mitigate barriers to trade and growth where we can. And we worked very much in line with the British Chambers of Commerce with this, to try and give a real united voice across England, Scotland, Ireland and Wales. And access to people and skills, you know, that is, you know, a key issue. You know, skills has been one of the top issues for businesses as long as I can remember. And that's something that we are, last year and over the next few years, we are addressing. Last year, we were selected by government as one of 8 national trailblazers. And what the trailblazers were, we were selected to put forward to government a local skills improvement plan, or an LSIP, as it's more commonly known. And, you know, what is the LSIP? The LSIP is really about ensuring that FE provision meets the future needs of business, and what needs to be done to enable FE to really be at the heart of business growth in terms of skills planning and development. And over the past 4 months, we've reached out to over 10,000 businesses across the county. We've also reached out to at least 12 employer representation bodies, people like the FSB, the IOD and the CBI, and also key stakeholders, stakeholders like Produced in Kent, Visit Kent, the South East Local Enterprise Partnership, Careers and Enterprise Companies, so lots of stakeholders. And that's to discuss the current and future skills needs and actually the barriers that businesses are facing. And of our 10,000 we reached out to, I'm pleased to say 2,000, and you know, that's quite a significant amount. So thank you for everybody who did take part. Around 2,000 businesses actively engaged in the process, which has really given us a significant amount of data on the needs and issues around skills and workforce development. And there's a universal agreement that only through a collaborative and joined up approach will we generate a plan that truly recognises the skills needs and more importantly, some of the solutions that our colleges and universities and providers will need to actually implement and address the skills issues. And it's also about emerging skills issues. You know, we know green technologies are much needed. You know, the government have, you know, spoke about they want us all by 2030 driving around in electric vehicles. Well, that's all well and good. You know, people have electric vehicles now, and you know, they're crying out for mechanics, but actually, you know, there's no course yet designed to actually deliver that as an apprenticeship. So, you know, these sorts of things really need to be addressed. And we're hoping by working collectively with our colleges, and we have a fantastic partnership between the Chamber and the 3 colleges across the county, that we can actually start to address things to really meet the needs of our business community. So we will ensure that our LSIP plan for Kenton Medway, the one that we've got to put forward to government by the end of the month, we'll make sure that it adds value. There's been so many plans come and gone in the past, and you know, we need to ensure that this is going to be different and it's going to be sustainable. So it's going to have to add value. It's going to be different from anything that's gone before. Hopefully it's also going to challenge the norm. It's going to provide new insight through all the consultation that we've done. And I do hope actually it's going to disrupt the status quo, because we need things to change. and above all, it's got to be innovative. We aim to publish our first draft report on the outcomes of the survey, and we're aiming to publish that probably next week. So all of the members will receive a copy of that, and hopefully you will also find that very insightful. I think I could go on and on because your chamber has been so active over the last year, but time is limited, so I think I will probably have to I'll have to leave it there. But if any of you would like to talk to me or any members of the team, please do get in contact. You know where we are. Please do just get in contact. So really, final words from me. I would just like to say thank you to the team. I am very fortunate, you as members are very fortunate. We do have an amazing team of dedicated people who work for the chamber, and so I would just like to thank them all for all that they do for our members and our wider business community. And also a special thank you to the board and our working groups. They very much sit behind the scenes, but thank you for them. And finally, obviously, my thank you has to be to you, our members. And I'm thanking you for making Kent Invicta such an active chamber that actually sits firmly at the heart of the Kent business community. And my final few words are, I really look forward to working with you, Chris, as our new chair over the next 2 years to take the chamber forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Jo, and some great words there. Thank you ever so much. And I very much look forward to the opportunity too. Before I let you go, Jo, if I could perhaps ask you one quick question, which I'm sure you'd be really interested to hear, is what do you think the biggest challenge is for Kenton Midway from a business perspective for the year ahead?
Oh, which one would I put at the top of the list? I think it would probably have to be the inflationary pressures. We've got price rises going up across the board. Potential wage inflation, supply chain, particularly when we're hearing, we had these issues anyway, but sadly the news with Ukraine. That's going to have an impact for us. I mean, those that don't think it's going to have an impact, I think might be for a bit of a shock. That is going to have an impact across the UK, particularly in terms of pricing. So, yeah, I would say it's inflationary pressures and material shortages. We have huge material shortages. We're a county that's got lots of planned development, and things are being held up. We have an issue with phosphates and nitrates, which is stopping development in East Kent, but that will be sorted out. But getting hold of materials and also the price of materials is causing a real issue. And then skills. Skills is also one of the key problems with business. But I think it also comes back to business thrives when it has an environment. And an environment that's conducive to business growth. It's not at the moment. I think business also needs to know what direction it's going in, and without getting too political. We need to have our government very focused in the same direction and providing stability, because we need stability to be able to plan and to be able to invest. So yeah, quite a mixture.
Yeah, thanks, Jo. Hugely insightful, and I hope members found that useful. Thank you so much. Okay, now we move on to a vote of thanks. And could I ask Graham Card of Corporate Liquidity Partners Limited to take us through that, please?
Yes, thank you very much, Chris. And from my part, I'd like to perhaps say that I've been a member of the Chamber of Commerce, the Kent Invicta Chamber of Commerce, for longer than I care to remember, but shall we say, let's just say since the last century. I've had the occasion, on many occasions, to work with many of the staff and attend a large number of events, and I'm very pleased this year to just be saying to you, I'd like to propose a vote of thanks to the board and in particular to the staff who carry out the board's directions, because it is, I think the word vibrant's already been used, but it is very much a vibrant chamber. There's a lot of people who will tell you that things about business such as networking works, but it only works if you do it well. And I think there's a lot of things that the chamber does well, and I'd just like to applaud the board and the staff along those lines. Thank you very much, and I look forward to continuing to be a member for some considerable time.
Thank you, Graham, and very wise words, and I'm sure the staff really appreciate what you've just said, so thank you ever so much for that. Okay, that concludes this year's AGM, the formal business that is, and I'd like to now hand over to our guest speaker. But before I do, just to introduce our speaker. We're hugely privileged to have Mark Quinn of Quinn Estates with us today. Mark needs little introduction, and he's very well known to us all. Mark has built a business with award-winning success by delivering extensive property investments throughout Kent and beyond. Welcome, Mark, and thanks for your time today. Before we go to Mark, I believe we have a short video, which Molly hopefully will get us going with. There we go. Thank you. Right, over to you, Mark. Thank you very much.
I'm happy to take questions. Thanks for watching the video. Just give you a little insight to what we're up to. Happy to take questions from anybody on any topic, really. Okay,
we've got some questions that have come in prior to the event, Mark. So if you're happy to run through those with you now, I'll do that. Okay, thank you. What trends do you see emerging for both commercial and residential developments?
I think residential, you'll see a kind of real kind of drive towards more space for people. I think people are spending more time in their home. The home's becoming not just their home, but their office. So I think the need for more space, more garden, that type of thing, more rooms in which they can actually go away and concentrate. I think that's becoming really, really important. I think, you know, we're also seeing a real kind of need, I think now, as Britain's demographic changes, you're seeing a kind of big drive towards more retirement living, more care living, and I think there's going to be a greater emphasis on residential within that sector, I think, coming forward. I think in response to commercial, do I think that offices will die? No, but I think offices will become far more about meeting people, talking to people, about bringing people together. I think far less about sitting at a desk, and far more about kind of engaging and talking to people and using that time for that, and then going off and working perhaps in different places. So I think that we see kind of a big kind of change towards that. And then the other big thing we see is a massive drive for more logistics space, in terms of distribution, in terms of how people shop now. People don't tend to go into the high street now. They're tending to basically have things delivered. So I think that's what we're going to see a kind of big drive towards, is far more need for logistics space. And even we've looked at a couple of schemes where you're looking at putting logistics underground and resi above. So actually having two different entranceways, but having two different entranceways with two different uses coming out of the same site.
Thank you, Mark. As a Kent-based business, how did you respond to the challenges of the pandemic and what's emerging from that era?
I think initially you're kind of working out what's going to happen. Can you trade? We were quite lucky. Secretary of State enabled builders to keep building, and we kept building, and we saw a huge kind of drive from people moving out of London, wanting more space. So actually, as a business, we grew considerably during the pandemic, but that brought its own issues because we had a massive constriction on materials and supply chain, and we also saw a huge kind of constriction in labour. So I think that you had a number of issues that contributed to that, but essentially that was really, really tough to make sure that we didn't let people down when we had to put people in their homes by the time in which we said we were going to put them in their homes. So that was all quite exciting. And the other thing I think for most of us is about keeping control of cost. I'm sure at the start of the pandemic, we're all thinking, right, we've got this much money in the bank. Are we going to be allowed to trade? Are we going to be allowed to sell houses? Right, how are we going to make sure we can get through this? And I think that after the initial panic, it's kind of like about keeping control and ensuring that you know every aspect of the business and ensuring that you know what's going out, what's coming in. And I think that was really what it was all about for us, really. What's emerging from it, I think definitely the way people work is changing. I think you've definitely got more work from home. Is that a bad thing? I don't think it is at all. I think it's a good thing. We find that when people want to get reports done, want to actually get more of the written word done, actually being away from the office, being away from disturbance actually helps them hugely. And I think that there are a number of benefits of work from home, not least people not having to commute. And I think that, there are a number of positive benefits that have come out. But for Kent, I think Kent has come into the spotlight. What a great place it is. If you want to go into London a couple of times a week, this is probably one of the best counties in Britain that you could live in. It's a beautiful county. It's got a great coastline, great schools, great countryside, great history. And I think that, it's made it an incredibly popular place to live.
It sounds like a blend of challenges, but real opportunities by the sounds of it, Mark. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I completely agree.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, next question is, you've gained a reputation in the building community. What makes a real community?
I think real community takes not wanting to make the most money straight away. I think it means having a bit of patience. For instance, in some of the developments we've done, we've taken less rent, but we've got the right retailers in, so that you basically allow people that you want to be within the development, you basically give them a helping hand. On one of our developments, we're actually allowing a young chef who's gained a couple of Michelin stars, we're allowing him to use the restaurant that we're going to build. We're on a turnover rent, so we don't actually receive any rent guarantee. There's a big risk element for us, but we think that this gentleman can really change the dial in this area, and we think he could create a Michelin star restaurant. And even if he doesn't, I think he'll create something incredible in terms of what what it will give to the area. And so I think it's about a bit of patience, not necessarily about the money straight away. I think at the end, what you get is you get something that's more successful because you've created somewhere that people want to live. In terms of other things, you need facilities. You need to swallow your own, you need to mitigate your own smoke. You need to mitigate the impact that you have. So, you know, we ensure we do that. We're building a number of GP surgeries at the moment. We're involved in one scheme. We're looking at building a hospital. We are looking at other schemes where today we open, in a few hours, we open a £10 million sporting super hub. It's used by 10,000 people a week at the moment. So for us, you know, we think it's about making sure that you give a bit back and making sure that you deliver what you say you're going to do. I think in areas where we do developments, we actively almost try and seek out problems so that we can help try and solve them. I think that's a real important part of development is kind of trying to help that community get the infrastructure and things that they need and they want.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You sort of, as a person, you ooze optimism. We see you around, you see you speaking everywhere. Are you optimistic about sustainability? And are there some risks, targets that are realistic that are out there?
Yeah, I'm optimistic towards sustainability, definitely. You know, we've got quite a few billion people on this planet. If they all stick a tree in the ground, it makes a massive difference. So for me, yeah, I'm really optimistic about it. I see huge changes already. I mean, we've got one scheme that we're up in front of soon, which we have a microgrid and a battery system, and it connects all the houses together. And it basically means that some people's cars are charging other people's houses. It's like a microgrid system. We've got PV on every single roof. That PV fills it up during the day. At night, when they're trying to regulate the grid, it feeds into our battery. So essentially, you're talking about it reducing costs by 70%, but it's more that it reduces the need for that electricity. And if you reduce the need for that electricity, you reduce the carbon of that electricity. So I think, yeah, I'm really positive about it. I think air tightness within buildings is going to become a lot stricter. I don't think that's a problem. I think it's a good thing. It just requires a bit more effort, a bit more attention to detail. I think that you're going to see trying to create places where people spend more time within. So, you know, we look at developments in which, you know, we've got somewhere for people to socialise, somewhere for people to have a coffee, somewhere for people to have a drink, somewhere for people to have their hair cut. You look and put those things in so that you create less need to basically get into your car and drive around everywhere. So I think that, yeah, we remain really optimistic about it. The targets that have been set, I think they're going to need probably what governments do brilliantly, which is when they want it to happen quickly, they give tax breaks. If you look at what's happened to company cars and electric cars, you know, probably a lot of people on this call today, this Zoom today, are looking at that or have done it because the tax break is so huge. So I think that, you know, governments are pretty good at driving that, and you know, I hope this government does, because we are going to need to minimise the impact of what we do. The other thing that we're looking at as a company, so on another one of our sites, we're creating 50% biodiversity net gain. What does that mean? It means that basically we're going to create on that particular site about 50 hectares or 100 acres of land in which nature will be ring fenced and nature will be allowed to thrive. And then you create biodiversity corridors through your development, which mean that people, you know, that the animals, that ecology has got room to breathe, room to get around without interference from human beings. And I think that that's going to become much more important, that we learn how to live much more lightly in this world. You know, our impact is lighter and our touch is lighter within the natural world.
Brilliant. That's hugely encouraging what you're saying. Bit of a strange question next, might be, or not, maybe not. I mean, you can take this as it comes out, but what gets you out of bed in the morning?
Fear. Fear, probably first. When we employ quite a few people, so sometimes I worry, are we all right? But I think that, you know, that's part of what I feel has helped me be successful, is being a bit worried. I'm a bit of a worrier. I also think, you know, I really enjoy what I do as a developer. We get to do things that stay there for hundreds of years if we do it right. And I think that, you know, we're very proud of what we build. We're not afraid to spend a few quid more to make sure that what we present is something that we want. I always say that if my wife kicked me out of the house, I could live in one of my houses. And if I can't, then don't build it and don't sell it. So, you know, all of the houses that we have, I have a look at. I'm not asking my wife to kick me out. I definitely don't want that. But I think that, yeah, we want to be proud of what we build. So I think that building something real quality, that is what we want to do. I think the people I work with, I really enjoy working with them. They're a great bunch. I feel lucky to work with them. So I think that gets me out in the morning. But definitely a little bit of fear. I don't, you know, I think if you don't feel that, then it's boring life, really. You need to be worried a little bit.
Yeah, I think I concur with that. I think certainly fear will drive success, in my opinion. So I'm with you on that one. Totally. Thank you. My final question from me is, what advice would you give to someone running a business? There's lots of businesses here today. You're very successful. Lots of people on the call are very successful. What would you give advice to lots of businesses about being successful?
I think most of the people on this call know, but I think that I tend to listen to a lot of other people and nick ideas off them. Because I think there's a lot of people that are a lot better at doing things than I am. So I like being around people and listening to people who are a lot better than me. And, you know, luckily for me, it's not that hard. But I think that I also think that you've got to know what's going on in your business. And the final thing I'll probably say is, I think when you get a win, it's important to keep your feet on the ground, enjoy it. But, you know, for us, we've always been a bit of a, we've squirreled it, and we've made sure that we've kept things for a rainy day, because I think that, you know, you never know what's going to happen. And I think that, you know, even what's going on in the last week or so shows us that you never know what's going to happen. You need to make sure that you're in a position that you can sustain your business, even if you get some unusual events take place. And I think that that's really crucial, is knowing where you are and not getting carried away when you get a win, really.
Yeah, very sound advice, I'd say. I know Joe's got a burning question to ask, so I'm going to, if Joe wants to...
Don't burn.
Yeah.
No, I haven't got burning questions. I know we had questions submitted, and I think that Chris had gone through all the questions, Mark, that we had, and we did have you here till 1 o'clock, and I could be nice and let you off early because I know you've got to rush for another meeting, but you know me, that's not my way. I always enjoy taking the opportunity to have a chat with you, Mark, because it's always so insightful. So just a few things I'd like to ask, if I could.
Yeah.
One is business, so you could take the whole time up on that, because the rest, I'll warn you, are more personal. So would you say that the link between Kent and London is still a selling point for the county and as relevant as it was maybe 5 years ago?
I think it's much more. I mean, to give you an idea, before COVID, out of the houses we used to sell, probably 5% were to people from London. That now is up 30. So if you looked at it, that's a massive increase. You know, in your business, if you 5 times something, 6 times something, that's a massive increase. So yeah, I think, you know, it's huge, the link. And it's become more so because you don't have to go to London every day.
Yeah, it's very, very true. I was going to ask you that. Do you think now, with, you know, a large proportion of London now looking at home working, not returning to the office, that actually we'll find more people relocate to Kent?
Yeah, I definitely. If you look at it, there's better schools. What do people want when they're, you know, first have kids? They want good schools. What do people want? They want space. You know, so I think it's massive. You know, a lot of developments we're doing now, the amount of space we're putting in is 50% of the entire land. You know, you do a 200-acre development and 100 acres of it now is green space. And if you do that, you actually, you know, people want to live there. So there are benefits to that, because you sell the properties quicker and people want them more. So I think that, yeah, I think it, you know, you would have to be mad to ignore the kind of trends, really. And those trends, I think, are definitely people moving out of London, and definitely, I don't blame them. And I don't miss London. I used to have to go to London twice a week. I go to London once a month. So, you know, I'm over the moon.
I totally agree with you. I'm enjoying not having doing all the travelling around. I've got to say, it is definitely an advantage. You're obviously very passionate about Kent. You know, as you know, all of us, I think, who work and live and breathe Kent are passionate about what we've got here. It's so easy to take for granted what you've got on your doorstep, but I think those that are of us that are really involved in, especially the economic development side of the county, really do appreciate it. But if you could change one thing about Kent, what would it be?
I think you give it better infrastructure. I think the road system in Kent, considering that we're expected to take all of the logistics traffic this country has, and that we've got a massive importation addiction, means that, you know, I think the infrastructure for Kent is mental. To give you an idea, if you drive from Milan to London, the only place that you encounter a traffic light is on the A2. I think that's hilarious. So you can drive all the way from Milan all the way to London, and the only place will be the one that we put by Lyddon Race Circuit. Well, not us personally, but Kent County Council did. So I think, yeah, we've got pretty poor infrastructure. I think also the connectivity between east and west of Kent is poor. So, you know, anyone who lives in Tunbridge Wells, they're really cut off from the rest of Kent. I think the road network there is really poor. So yeah, I think that is it. Train wise, we've got, you know, HS1 was amazing, but I think, you know, there are some improvements that could really improve things there. Yeah, I think definitely infrastructure would be really, really useful.
Okay, interesting. That was interesting. I didn't realise that there was only one set of traffic lights. It'd be interesting to know what the stats were for speed cameras, because I know I've been caught on a few in Kent. I think we have our more than our fair share of speed cameras.
You don't need to admit that. You don't need to admit it.
Yeah, I think we'll both end up taking public transport, but not by choice. Just a couple of quick personal questions then, and I'll end it there. So I know you like to add value to the communities in which you work and develop, and I know a lot of that is focused around sport, and I know you personally sponsor sports people. What's the passion with the sport? Why you seem very sport focused?
Well, I used to race when I was younger. I raced in skiing at kind of international level, and I didn't make it. You know, the best result I ever got was 44th, and most people don't even remember people when they're third. So 44th was pretty poor, really. But what it did is it gave me the ability to set goals. It gave me the ability to work out that if I took certain steps, and I did certain things, that I would achieve that. And I think that what sport does, what we see it does, is it improves numeracy. It helps prevent truancy. It helps keep people out of prison. It gives comradeship. Makes people socialise. It gives people mentors, and you know, I think that sport does so many positive things, and it also makes so many people volunteer to do things. You know, you've probably got loads of people here who are stewards or referees or you know, linemen and everything else. So I think that and also in every, not just sport, but I think in scouts, in you know, in apprenticeship schemes and everything. I think that whenever you get people to do things out of the goodness of their heart, and whenever you get people working together, I think that you achieve really nice outcomes, and that's why I believe in sport. I think it does a lot more than just win a game. I think it helps people win at life.
44th, you know, that's pretty impressive. Don't underestimate that one. Pretty impressive. You know, how that's quite interesting how you come from international skier to developer. You know, it could have been international skier to caterer. You know, you could have been a chef. You could have been. What made you choose development?
People tell me too much, but yeah, I'm good at eating.
What made you? Oh, we all mark. What made you choose development to go into as a career?
I went initially into a health club, so I basically qualified, and I had a kind of sports science physiology, and I then went into a health club. And what I realised when we got about 1,600 members, and it was a club in Charing. And what I realised is I love the fitness bit, but I couldn't keep 1,600 customers happy. I could keep 1,550, and the other 50 used to, I don't know, do my head in. So what I really decided is I wanted to go into a business. I really loved the building element. I don't know why, I just loved it. So when I was building the health club, I built it myself. My brother helped me. And basically, we built it together with about 4 or 5 other people that we employed to help us. And the bit that I loved is I loved that building bit. So I bought a load of books on building, and I read them. And that's really how I did it. And then what I did is I started employing the consultants to write for me, and then I read what they wrote, and then I would learn off them. So yeah, I just basically hung around with people who are really clever, and that was really what I did. I'm the least qualified person in my company, so that's the award that I have, unfortunately. But that's the award I have.
Well, you've not done bad on it, Mark, so I wouldn't underestimate that one. And one final quick question before I hand back to Chris. Your life is pretty manic, pretty busy, but you must have some spare time. What do you do in your spare time? What do you like doing? And more importantly, how do you relax?
Okay, so I relax with my kids. I take my boys to rugby. I take them skiing. I've got an autistic son, and one of the only sports he can do is skiing. So I take him skiing. And I also go for walks on Whitstable Seafront. I love Deal Seafront. We take them cycling up at Betsanger. And then myself, I try and exercise every day because I think that it's a time where I can't take a phone call. And it's a bit of time for me to, put into myself, really. So yeah, but really it's family. I mean, I love being around my wife and my family, really. So yeah, that's what I like. I like being around with my family.
Yeah, no, it's very true. I always say to people that you have a job and it's important, but there's always another job. You only have one family. Make the most of them. I think I better live there because I've hogged a lot of the time now, Mark. So it was lovely to speak to you again, and I'll hand back to Chris.
Thanks, Jo. And as chair's prerogative as I can now, I'm going to ask Mark one final question before we leave, and that is, who's inspired you, Mark, to be who you are today?
I think there's a few. I had a couple of coaches when I was younger, but I think who inspires me? George Wilson, I worked with in my early days. Giles Hilton, who runs Canterbury Rugby Club, watching Giles do what he does for free for so many people makes me feel inadequate. A lot of the chairmen that I've worked with of clubs inspire me because they all do it for nothing. So yeah, I kind of, a lot of the people that I've been around kind of inspire me, really. And then the final one I'd have to say would be my wife, and that's an inspiration of fear. No, but it's I think that all those people close really to me have been really kind of inspirational, and even my parents. I mean, my mum when she was alive, she kind of instilled in me a confidence and a determination that really helped me. So yeah, I think all those people really.
Well, given it's being recorded today, the wife answer was the correct one, Mark.
She might be on this, you never know.
So thanks ever so much, Mark, and it's been brilliant. And thanks hugely for an insightful discussion. Really appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate you letting me talk to you, and I look forward to seeing you all in person, and perhaps raising a glass with you as well. So thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Mark. Appreciate that. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Okay, we now move on to the networking element of today's event. So without further ado, can I hand over to Neil and Molly, please?
Thank you very much, Chris. And